Did Bob Mueller recruit people to his probe that had a bias against the president?
You are taking an FBI department that was weakened by Mueller's time.
We do not know the magnitude of this insider bias on Mr. Mueller's team.
If you kicked everybody off Mueller's team who was anti-Trump, I don't think there'd be anybody left.
Just a few of the shots taken at the FBI and Special Counsel Robert Mueller, that on Thursday, as GOP lawmakers grilled FBI head Christopher Wray during an oversight hearing. Republicans used that occasion to rally behind the president, accusing the FBI and Mueller of having an anti-Trump bias and deliberately mishandling the Russia probe and Hillary Clinton email investigation. Let's bring in Charlie Savage, New York Times national security and legal reporter, also an MSNBC contributor. Nayyera Haq, former White House senior director and former senior advisor for the State Department, and Jennifer Rogers, a former assistant U.S. attorney. Charlie, tell us more about what happened during that interaction. Many Republican lawmakers here questioning, and it seems like they're softening the ground here for potentially something there of Robert Mueller and his team. What more did you hear from that?
So we've seen a growing swell on the right of an attempt to discredit and delegitimize the Mueller investigation, Mueller as a person, really starting since the summer when you had people like Newt Gingrich who had initially praised him as above the fray and nonpartisan and an impeccable reputation, starting to say, wait a minute, this whole thing is a witch hunt following President Trump's lead. And right-wing media outlets like Fox News in particular have been really systematically turning up the volume on that kind of critique. And now I think what we're seeing is in that hearing that you referenced at the beginning of this segment is that rank-and-file Republican members of Congress have picked up on that theme and have decided to sort of throw their lot in with the attack on the Justice Department and the independence of a fact-finding criminal investigation run by this former Republican-appointed FBI director. And what you said about preparing the ground for something, I think, is exactly the right question to be asking. It looks like the battlefield is being prepared here, but we don't know for what, and probably they don't know for what yet either. Could it be President Trump firing Mueller? Could it be Mueller delivering a report to Congress that has some kind of damaging information? Obviously, the effort is to make it so that the Republican base sees this as just more politics and will go along with whatever whatever happens.
Any sense that this is being coordinated by anybody, or this is just one following another?
You know, I and some colleagues who've been watching this happen have been asking that question among ourselves. It's the kind of thing where does it need to be coordinated, or do people who are on sort of Team Trump, whether it's in Congress or on Fox News, just sort of see the need for it as Mueller indicts more people and gets closer and closer to the top? Whether it's coordinated or not, though, the effect is the same.
Jennifer, so as we watch these criticisms of Robert Mueller and his team, you've heard some of the accounts here that if you took out all of those in his team that support the Democrats or Hillary Clinton, he would not have a team. At least that's what's being said. What do you make of what you've been hearing?
Well, I think it's completely outrageous. I mean, there have been attacks on all sorts of institutions that are critical to our democracy, but this to me is a bridge too far. I mean, saying that your own Justice Department and your own FBI are somehow against you and can't be trusted and are in tatters, I mean, this is really unprecedented, in part because these are his people. I mean, he put them in there. He chose the AG. He chose the deputy AG. The deputy AG chose Mueller. And the FBI are his federal law enforcement authorities. So to attack them is, I think, really just beyond the pale. And also, of course, I mean, this is one of the kind of most important institutions that's supposed to be a check on a president with unfettered power. This is the federal law enforcement mechanism. These are the folks who are supposed to see if there's criminality in other parts of the executive branch and act on it. So him doing this, it's just like another step towards he has no check on his power, and there's just nothing he can't do, and that should be unacceptable to all of us.
Nayyera, I'm going to allude to what Dana Milbank wrote in an op-ed, the title reading, "The GOP's All-Out Assault on Justice," in that piece, saying that it's a possibility that these attacks will influence the Russia probe. Might that be true, Nayyera?
Well, it is part of a broader pattern of behavior. We're seeing that this president undermines the institutions of democracy. That includes the First Amendment, freedom of speech, when it comes to working with media. And that also now includes law enforcement, anybody that could potentially be a check on his own power. This is exactly the type of behavior that Putin has exhibited in his own country and Russia. So there's a commonality, a pattern here that actually goes beyond just the Donald Trump and the Russia connection. This is the pattern of autocracy, of dictators around the world, where they make it about themselves, that they are the only person you can trust, and you cannot trust the institutions. It's a very dangerous interpretation of being a law and order president, because he has now made it that Donald Trump is the one who will be enforcing laws and interpreting laws, not the checks and balances we have in our democratic system.
Jennifer, is this a softening of the ground for a potential removal of Robert Mueller?
I think it might be. I mean, you know, it's either a distraction, which this White House has been big on as well, you know, don't look over there, look over here, or it is kind of setting the groundwork for trying to remove Mueller. I mean, if they can get people not to really care, oh yeah, that guy's dirty, that guy's corrupt, that guy has conflicts of interest, which, by the way, is ridiculous, because there are legal definitions for conflicts of interest that you can look up, and nothing that's come out today is anywhere close to that. But if he can get the public thinking that, and then he removes him, everyone just kind of shrugs and says, ah, yeah, well, that guy was dirty anyway. So that very well may be what's happening here, which is really disturbing.
Nayyera?
Absolutely. I mean, this is, again, part of a pattern of behavior, and Donald Trump is not interested in doing anything by the traditional book or by maintaining the system. It is going to be all about protecting himself, despite the fact that what you're accusing FBI officials of doing are things his own family have done, right? Ivanka Trump, his son-in-law Jared, they have all supported the Clintons in the past and made donations to Democrats. It's the irony here that in discussing the Justice Department and FBI as having no integrity, that's they haven't looked in the mirror lately.
Nayyera Hawk, Jennifer Rogers, a busy week there on the Russia connection question as well. Now the Robert Mueller team. And Charlie Savage, thank you so much for your reporting and giving us the detail behind what's happening on the story. Appreciate all three of you.